I thought the hardest part of my life was losing my husband, but when his will was read, it turned into a nightmare for me. $10 million inheritance for my son, but for me, only debts, his locked phone, and unanswered questions. It seemed like a cruel joke, but the phone he left behind had answers, and they were far darker than I could have imagined. My name is Sarah, and this is my story. I never imagined that the hardest part of losing Jack would come after his death. When the phone call came, I thought my world had ended. It was a simple call from the hospital. Jack had been in a car accident. The details didn't matter at the time. All I knew was that I would never see him again. The grief overwhelmed me. The weight of the silence in our house was suffocating. Jack was gone, and so was everything I had built my life around. But it wasn't until I sat in that lawyer's office, waiting for the reading of his will, that the true nightmare began. It wasn't just the heart-wrenching loss of the man I'd spent half my life with. It wasn't just the emptiness left by his absence. No, it was the betrayal. It was the shattering realization that, in death, Jack had left me with nothing but devastation and unanswered questions. The office was sterile, cold. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, adjusted his glasses, staring down at the papers before him as if they were the only thing keeping him grounded. His silence was almost worse than the reality of what I was about to hear. I glanced at my son, Luke, who sat beside me, his arms crossed tightly over his chest, his face impassive. He had barely spoken a word since we arrived, and I couldn't help but notice how distant he seemed. As if this was just another business transaction to him. But I was too lost in my own thoughts to focus on him, too consumed with the growing fear of what the will would reveal. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, and I felt my heart race. He started reading, his voice steady, but every word felt like a knife. "To my beloved wife, Sarah," he began, and I straightened up, my breath catching in my throat. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. I hadn't allowed myself to believe that Jack would leave me with nothing. He loved me. We had built a life together. Surely he would have taken care of me in his will. "I leave." Mr. Thompson paused, and my mind began to race. The silence stretched on for what felt like forever. "I leave nothing." I froze, the world tilted. "What?" I whispered. "Nothing, you have to be mistaken." Mr. Thompson didn't look up, except for the contents of a locked phone. "Nothing," my mouth went dry, the words didn't make sense. Jack had left me with a phone. I had been expecting a reasonable inheritance, something to ensure I could carry on. But instead, I was left with debt. And this phone, what could it mean? Why? I looked at Luke, hopping for some sign of understanding, some indication that he was as shocked as I was, but his face was unreadable. The moment felt like a punch in the gut. Luke was getting everything. The will made it clear, $10 million for him, but nothing for me. Why would Jack do this? I couldn't breathe. The phone, his phone, was now the only thing I had left. The one thing that might have some answers. But why would Jack leave me a phone and nothing else? And why not give me access to anything? The bitterness started to rise within me, a mix of hurt and anger that I couldn't yet process. "What's this supposed to mean?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Jack wouldn't do this to me. There has to be something more." Mr. Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his seat but said nothing. I could feel my pulse pounding in my temples. I needed answers, now, but nothing in that room made sense. I looked back at Luke again, hopping for some sign, some glimmer of reassurance. But he only nodded, his face hard, his eyes distant. His silence was unbearable. "Luke," I said, my voice hoarse, "do you know anything about this? Was this what Jack wanted?" Luke's eyes flicked up to meet mine, but he didn't say anything. He just shook his head. A flicker of something, guilt, indifference, passed across his face, but it was gone before I could grasp it. He wasn't looking at me. He wasn't looking at the situation. He was already moving on, as if the will's contents didn't matter to him. Mr. Thompson handed me the phone. The weight of it in my hands was too much. It felt like a burden I couldn't carry. Jack's final gift to me was a locked phone, not even a word of explanation. I stared at the phone, my fingers trembling as I swiped at the screen. Nothing. The screen was dark, the lock icon mocking me. What was on it? What was Jack hiding from me? I left the office in a daze. The weight of the phone in my hand felt like the heaviest thing I'd ever carried. As I walked to my car, I could feel the eyes of passers-by on me, but I didn't care. I didn't care about anything except unlocking that phone. I needed to know what was inside. There had to be something, anything. The drive home was a blur. I was thinking too hard, too fast, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Jack had never been secretive, at least not with me. We built a life together, a good life, a solid marriage, or so I thought. Was this the man I had spent the last 25 years with? The man who had promised to love me, to care for me, to stand by me? And yet, in the end, he had left me with a phone and an inheritance for our son, the one person who barely seemed to care about any of this. When I finally arrived home, I went straight to the bedroom. The house was empty, eerily quiet. Jack's absence was everywhere, the empty chair at the dinner table, his half-drunk coffee cup on the kitchen counter. I couldn't escape it. I could feel the emptiness creeping in, threatening to swallow me whole. I sat on the bed, staring at the phone. The questions flooded my mind, overwhelming me. What could Jack possibly have been hiding? What was he planning? And why had he left me nothing but debt and this cursed phone? I had to know. I had to understand. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling as I swiped the screen again. Nothing. The lock screen mocked me, as if Jack's final message was to leave me locked out. A cold wave of dread washed over me. What if the phone held something I didn't want to know? What if Jack had been hiding more than just financial secrets? I couldn't stop now. I couldn't walk away without answers. With a trembling hand, I pressed the power button again. The screen flickered to life. It was then that I saw it, a message notification from an unknown number. My heart skipped a beat. Was this the first clue? The message simply read, "You don't know the whole story. Don't trust anyone." My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about a will. It was something much, much bigger. What do you think I should do now? What's on that phone? Do you think I should trust what I am seeing? Let me know what you would do in my shoes in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow my journey as I uncovers the truth behind my late husband's will. Now let's continue. The moment the message appeared on Jack's phone, my heart stopped. "You don't know the whole story. Don't trust anyone." Those words burned into my mind. My hands were trembling as I stared at the screen, frozen. It didn't make sense. What was this? Who was the person sending it? And what was the story Jack had been hiding from me? I was alone in the house now. Luke had left hours ago. I don't know where he went, but I didn't care. I was consumed by the need to understand, to unravel the mystery of Jack's last days, to piece together the truth. I hadn't had the courage to confront Luke about the will. There was something in his eyes, something I couldn't quite place. But I didn't have time to focus on that. Not now. Not with this phone, with these messages. I paced back and forth in the bedroom, clutching the phone. Don't trust anyone. Was that a warning? Or a threat? The only thing I knew for sure was that Jack had been hiding something from me. I had never been the type to snoop, but now I had no choice. The phone was my only lead, and I wasn't going to stop until I knew everything. I opened the message again, hoping there was something more, something that would make this cryptic warning clearer. But there was nothing else, just the words, and that ominous feeling that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I needed help, but I didn't know who I could trust. I thought about calling Frank, Jack's old business partner, but then I remembered the last time I saw him, right before Jack died. The way he had acted, distant, avoiding my eyes as if he knew something I didn't. I could feel my pulse quicken as the uncertainty gnawed at me. I picked up the phone again, determined to dig deeper. Maybe there was something hidden in the messages, something Jack had left behind for me. As I scrolled, my thumb froze over a series of texts from a number I didn't recognize. "Tomorrow, the payment's due. We can't wait any longer," the message read. My stomach dropped. Payment? What was this about? It didn't sound like something Jack would write. Jack was a businessman, yes, but he never dealt with anything shady, at least not in a way that involved anyone else in our lives. Then came another message. "The plan is in motion. Let's see if Sarah notices. She doesn't know the truth yet." I gasped, almost dropping the phone. Sarah? Was I the one they were talking about? Who was behind this? What plan? I hadn't even realized it before, but the more I thought about it, the more it became clear. Jack's death wasn't an accident. It couldn't have been. But why didn't anyone tell me? Why hadn't anyone warned me? I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, caught in a web of lies and deceit. I couldn't just sit here anymore, waiting for answers to fall into my lap. I needed to find out who these people were, who Jack had been involved with. Maybe these people were the same ones who left him in debt, dangerous people who now had control over everything. I grabbed my purse and headed out the door, determined to find someone who could help me understand what was going on. But as I stepped outside, I froze. Someone was watching me. A figure stood at the edge of my driveway, a man I didn't recognize, standing by a black SUV. His posture was stiff, his face shadowed beneath a cap. He didn't move when I looked at him, just stared in my direction. My heart skipped a beat, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. Was he following me? Had he been watching me for days? Before I could gather my thoughts, the figure turned and walked toward the SUV, disappearing into the vehicle without a glance back. I stood there, frozen for a few more moments, my breath coming out in shaky bursts. Something was terribly wrong. I had to make a decision. If I went after them, I could be walking into something far worse than I could imagine. But if I stayed here, I would be playing into their hands. I made up my mind. I had to go to the police. I had to make them take this seriously. My husband's death, this phone, there was too much at stake, too many unanswered questions. But as I started to turn toward my car, a chill ran through me. The phone buzzed again, pulling me back to reality. A new message had appeared. Sarah's getting closer. We'll have to handle her soon. I froze. The words hit me like a slap to the face. They're watching me. Whoever had written those messages was dangerous, and now I was their target. I stared at the message, panic rising inside me. Who are these people? What was Jack involved in? Why hadn't I seen the signs? I felt my phone slip from my fingers and onto the floor as I sank down into the driver's seat of my car. What do I do now? Everything I thought I knew about my life, about Jack, was slipping away. This wasn't just about a will anymore. This wasn't just about money. It was about survival. The phone buzzed again. Are you ready for the truth, Sarah? Because you're about to find out everything. I could hardly breathe. What was I supposed to do with this information? My head was spinning. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. I had to know who was behind this, and I had to get to them before they got to me. I started the engine, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly I could feel my knuckles turning white. I drove, no destination in mind, just the need to put distance between myself and the fear that was slowly consuming me. The world around me felt like it was closing in, like everything was a lie. I needed to speak to Frank. I had no choice. I was running out of options, and time was running out. If Frank knew anything, if he could tell me anything, I would go to him. But as I pulled up to Frank's office, my phone buzzed one more time. It was from the same unknown number. We know you're close, Sarah. Stay away from Frank. If you care about your son, stay away from us. I gasped, slamming the phone into the passenger seat as my breath quickened. They're watching me. Whoever they were close, closer than I ever imagined. The more I tried to focus, the harder it became to breathe. My heart was racing, my hands shaking as I stared at the phone in front of me. The messages from the unknown number kept coming. Each one felt like another piece of a puzzle I wasn't sure I was ready to solve. But there was no turning back now. Sarah, it's time you knew the truth. Jack wasn't who you thought he was. Stay away from Frank. You don't want to dig too deep. Trust us, you'll regret it. Those words, Jack wasn't who you thought he was, kept echoing in my mind. I had already learned that my husband had kept secrets from me, but this was different. What truth were they talking about? What did they want me to stay away from? Why was Frank, a man I'd known for years, suddenly part of the mystery? I had no answers, but I was going to find them. I gripped the phone, my fingers pressing against the cold screen as if it could give me answers. I needed to know. I couldn't just sit here, trapped in the unknown, my life spiraling out of control. The message warned me to stay away from Frank, but why? Was Frank involved in all this? Was he hiding something? I couldn't keep living in fear, wondering what was going on. If there was something Jack hadn't told me, something bigger than the debts and the shady dealings, I had to know. I grabbed my keys, a surge of determination flooding my body. I was going to Frank's office. I had no time to waste. The phone buzzed again, another message. I hesitated before reading it. Was it another warning, another threat? "You're getting too close, Sarah. We won't let you expose what's been buried." A chill ran down my spine. Expose what? What had Jack been involved in? And what was Frank's role in all of this? I needed to find out, whatever the cost. I drove quickly, my thoughts racing. Every street sign I passed, every turn I made felt like a countdown to something inevitable. I was in too deep now. There was no turning back, but the fear gnawing at my insides wouldn't let up. What if Frank was hiding something? What if he was just as much a part of this as Jack? What if Frank had been feeding me lies all these years? I parked outside Frank's office building, taking a deep breath before stepping out of the car. The building loomed ahead, cold and impersonal, as if it too was part of the game Jack had left behind. I walked toward the entrance, trying to steady my nerves. My hands trembled in my pockets, the weight of the phone still pressing against me. I had no idea what I was going to find, but I knew I couldn't back down now. I stepped into the lobby, the sound of my heels clicking on the polished floor. The receptionist greeted me, but her smile faltered when she saw the tension in my face. "Can I help you, Mrs. Anderson?" she asked, her voice soft. "I need to see Frank," I replied, my tone more forceful than I intended. "Now." She hesitated, eyeing me warily. "He's in a meeting right now, but if you'd like to wait." "No, I need to see him now. I didn't have time for this." The receptionist looked at me for a long moment before picking up the phone. I could feel the weight of her eyes on me, but I didn't care. I was done with playing nice. Jack's death, the inheritance, the phone, it all led to this moment. "Mr. Cartwright," she said into the phone, her voice barely a whisper. "Mrs. Anderson is here to see you." I waited, packing back and forth in the sterile lobby, my mind running wild. I tried not to think about the threats I had received. It was hard to focus, to control the rush of adrenaline that surged through my veins. Frank had been a good friend to Jack, but what if he had been lying to me? What if he had known more than he let on about Jack's debts and the people Jack had been running from? Finally, Frank appeared, walking through the lobby toward me. His eyes softened when he saw me, but there was a tension in his jaw that didn't sit right. "Sarah," he said, his voice calm but distant. "What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't bother with pleasantries. "I know about the phone," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "And I know Jack was involved in something dangerous. You're hiding something, Frank. What do you know about this?" He stiffened, and I saw the flicker of something I couldn't place, in his eyes. He didn't answer right away, and that silence spoke volumes. I crossed my arms, refusing to back down. "Sarah, Don't lie to me," I interrupted. "I know Jack was involved in some shady business. What was he into? Who was he working with? Why did he leave me nothing but debt and this damn phone?" Frank's face darkened, and for a moment he looked like a man carrying the weight of 1,000 secrets. "You don't understand, Sarah. Jack got caught up in something that was bigger than both of us. He tried to protect you. He was trying to protect all of us." I felt a chill wash over me. "Protect me from what?" I demanded, my voice rising. "What did Jack do that I don't know about?" Frank didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced around the lobby, his eyes scanning for anyone who might be listening. His next words were barely above a whisper. "Jack owed money, big money, and when you owe that kind of money, there's no way out. People started threatening him, threatening you too." He paused, taking a step closer. "But it wasn't just money. Jack got involved with the wrong people, Sarah, people who don't play by the rules." I stood frozen, trying to process his words. "What kind of people?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Frank looked around again, then took a deep breath, his expression hardening. "The kind of people who don't let you walk away from deals like that. People who will do anything to get their money back." A wave of dread washed over me. I could feel the walls closing in, the weight of everything Jack had been hiding pressing down on me. Dangerous people. That was all Frank was willing to say. And yet, it was clear. Jack's death had not been a random accident. There was something bigger at play, something more sinister than I could have ever imagined. Frank took a step back, running a hand through his hair. "Sarah, you have to understand Jack was trying to get out of it, but he couldn't, and when he died..." He hesitated, the words heavy on his lips. "It wasn't an accident. Someone made sure it happened, and now they're after you." The air in the room seemed to freeze. My breath caught in my throat. "They're after me." I suddenly felt the weight of every step I had taken since Jack's death. The messages, the threats, it was all leading here, to me. Frank's face softened with regret. "I didn't want you to be part of this, but you're too deep in now. The people Jack owed are dangerous. You need to get out of here, Sarah, before it's too late." I shook my head, panic rising in my chest. "No, I'm not running, not anymore. I need to know everything. I need to know who did this to Jack. Who's behind all of this? I can't back down now." Frank's eyes darkened. "You don't know what you're up against." "But I will," I replied, my voice hardening with resolve. "I will know." Frank's silence was enough. He knew this was the point of no return for me. I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross, and now there was no turning back. I was in this, whether I liked it or not. The day felt wrong from the start. There was something in the air, an unsettling feeling that clung to me as I walked through the quiet streets of Cleveland, heading toward the one place I thought I could trust. Frank's office had always been a safe haven. A place where I could ask questions and get answers, or at least, that's what I thought. But today, everything had changed. Frank had told me things I wasn't ready to hear, things that shook the very foundation of everything I believed about Jack, about us. I could still hear his words echoing in my mind. "Jack got involved with the wrong people, Sarah. People who don't let you walk away." Those words haunted me, gnawing at the pit of my stomach as I stood outside Frank's building, staring up at the steel structure before me. Every step I took towards that door felt heavier than the last. I wasn't just walking into an office anymore. I was walking into the heart of a secret I wasn't sure I could survive uncovering. But I had no choice. I couldn't run from this, not now. I entered Frank's office with more resolve than I had felt in days. The receptionist gave me a tight smile, but there was an edge to it, something that seemed almost sympathetic. "Mr. Cartwright is expecting you," she said, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the anxiety I felt brewing in the pit of my own stomach. I nodded, trying to mask my nerves, and walked down the narrow hallway to Frank's office. The door opened with a soft click, and Frank was standing there, as if he had been waiting for me. But today, he wasn't his usual confident self. His face was drawn, his expression tense. The air between us was thick with something unspoken. "Sarah," Frank greeted me, his voice a little too quiet. "We need to talk." I nodded, taking a seat across from him. There was no point in pretending anymore. The truth was out there, and it was as cold and sharp as the steel walls surrounding us. "Frank," I said, my voice surprisingly calm despite the storm inside me. "You told me Jack was involved with dangerous people, but I need to know exactly who. Who are these people? What were they after?" Frank hesitated, his eyes darting toward the window, then back to me. He didn't want to say it. I could see that much. He was holding back, and I wasn't sure if it was out of fear or guilt. "Sarah," he began, his voice lower now. "You don't understand the depths of this. It wasn't just about money. Jack got involved with something far bigger. He was part of a network, people with connections that go beyond anything you could imagine." He paused, his eyes meeting mine with a sharp intensity. "Jack was trying to protect you. He knew what kind of danger he was in, and he knew the risk it posed to you, to Luke. But he couldn't escape it. None of us could." My mind raced, my pulse quickening. A network. What did that mean? Had Jack been part of some larger operation I had never known about? Was he mixed up in something even worse than I had feared? "Who were they, Frank?" I asked again, my voice firm despite the chaos swirling inside me. "I need to know, for my own peace of mind. Who was Jack dealing with?" Frank let out a long, defeated sigh. "Sarah, this isn't something you want to know. These people. They don't leave survivors. You've already seen the messages, the threats. They're playing a dangerous game, and you've been pulled into it whether you like it or not. My head spun. I could barely keep up with the implications of what Frank was saying. These people, who were they? And what did they want with me? Why didn't you tell me all this before, Frank? Why did you let me live in the dark, thinking everything was fine? Jack was my husband. I had a right to know what was going on. Frank's eyes darkened, and for the first time I saw the raw regret in them. He wasn't just hiding something from me. He was hiding the truth. The full, ugly truth that I wasn't ready to hear. I couldn't, Sarah, he said quietly, his voice cracking. Jack asked me not to tell you. He wanted to protect you. He didn't want you to get involved. He wanted to spare you from this world, from these people. But now that they know you're digging, it's too late. They won't stop until they get what they want. Get what they want, I echoed, my voice rising in disbelief. What could they possibly want from me? Frank's gaze shifted to the floor, and I could tell he was struggling with something: guilt, fear, regret. He had a piece of the puzzle, and I was desperate for it. It's not about you, Sarah, he said, almost as a whisper. It's about the money, the inheritance, your son, Luke. They think they can control everything with that money, and they'll stop at nothing to get it. But it's more than just the inheritance. They're after something much bigger. I leaned forward, my eyes wide with disbelief. What do you mean? What are they after? Frank's voice dropped to almost a whisper, barely audible. It's Jack's connections, the debts, the deals. The phone, Sarah. The phone he left you, it's the key. It holds something they need, something bigger than money. I sat back, the weight of his words crashing over me. My heart raced as the pieces started to fall into place. The phone, Jack had left it for me. He had hidden something in it, something so important that it could cost us everything. And now, these people were after me. They were watching my every move, waiting for the moment when I'd crack and give them what they wanted. Frank shifted uneasily in his chair, glancing nervously at the door. You don't realize how close you are to danger, Sarah. If you keep pushing, if you keep digging, they'll come for you. And they won't stop until they have everything Jack left behind. Everything. I stared at him, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. I didn't know who to trust anymore. The man I had loved, the man who had promised to protect me, had kept me in the dark about everything. And now I was being thrust into a game I didn't understand, a game where the stakes were far too high. Frank, I said, my voice firm, I'm not backing down. I can't. I need to know the truth about Jack, about these people. And I will find it with or without your help. Frank's eyes widened as he stood up abruptly, as if to stop me. Sarah, please! But his voice trailed off. There was no stopping me now. My determination was stronger than the fear that had been choking me all this time. If Jack had been hiding something this big, this dangerous, I needed to know, no matter the cost. I turned and walked out of his office, the weight of everything pressing on my shoulders. I couldn't let this go. I couldn't let Jack's secrets stay buried, not when they threatened my family, my future. The phone had to hold the answers, and I would stop at nothing to unlock them. As I reached my car, the phone buzzed again. A new message. I hesitated for a moment before unlocking the screen. You're getting too close, Sarah. You have no idea what you're up against. Stay away from Frank. The next message will be your last. I froze. The next message will be your last. Was that a threat? I felt a chill run down my spine, whoever these people were. They were willing to do anything to protect their secrets. And now, I was their target. I wasn't going to stop. Not now, not ever. The air felt thicker now, heavy with secrets I was only beginning to uncover. I could feel the weight of everything pressing down on me. Jack's lies, Frank's half-truths, and the cold, shadowy figures that had been lurking in the background of our lives. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but with every revelation, the mystery deepened, and the stakes grew higher. It was no longer just about the inheritance, the money, or even Jack's death. It was about survival. I couldn't let it go. I couldn't walk away without knowing the whole truth. But as I sat in my car, staring at the glowing screen of Jack's phone, I felt the familiar tremor of fear creep up my spine. They're watching me. I could feel it in my bones. Every time my phone buzzed, every time I picked it up to read another message from the unknown number, It felt like I was being pulled deeper into their web. Sarah, stop digging. You're getting too close. If you care about your son, you'll let this go. Leave the phone alone. Leave everything alone. The message was chilling, and yet something about it only fueled my determination. They were trying to control me, trying to push me back into a corner. But I wasn't going to back down now. I couldn't. Not when I was this close to finding out who was behind all of this. And when I finally uncovered the truth, I would make them pay for what they had done. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, and thought about everything Frank had told me. Jack had been involved in something bigger than either of us realized. He had been hiding things from me, things that had already cost him his life, and now they were threatening mine. And the worst part, I had a feeling Luke was deeper into this than I had originally thought. My son, my own flesh and blood, had been keeping secrets, and I didn't know if I could trust him anymore. It was time to confront him. I pulled up to the house, my heart racing as I walked to the front door. The house felt different now, colder, emptier. The walls that had once been filled with laughter and warmth now seemed to echo with a deafening silence. I could feel Luke's absence before I even stepped inside. "Luke," I called out, my voice shaking slightly. I walked into the living room, scanning the space for any sign of him. The house felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I finally heard footsteps from the kitchen, and then Luke appeared, his expression unreadable. He hadn't even looked up when I entered. He was too busy, too distracted. It was like he was waiting for me to say something. But today, I wasn't going to wait. I wasn't going to play the role of the quiet, understanding mother. Not anymore. "Luke, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm. "I know what's going on. I know you're involved in all of this." He stopped in his tracks, his eyes narrowing slightly. "What are you talking about?" he asked, but there was something in his voice, a shift, a hint of guilt. It was barely there, but it was enough for me to know that I wasn't imagining things. "Don't play games with me, Luke," I said, walking toward him. "I know about Jack's debts. I know about the phone. I know about the messages. And I know you're not as innocent in all of this as you're pretending to be." His jaw tightened, and for the first time I saw a flash of something in his eyes, something dark, something that made me feel like I didn't know my son at all. He was hiding something, and I was about to find out what it was. "Mom, you don't know what you're talking about," he said, his voice low, almost defensive. But there was something about the way he said it that made me certain. Luke knew more than he was letting on. I took a step closer, my heart pounding in my chest. "You're lying, I know you are. You've been hiding things from me, and I deserve the truth. Right now." His eyes darted around the room, and I could see the guilt flicker in his expression before he looked away. "I didn't ask for any of this, okay? I didn't ask for any of it," he muttered, his voice strained. I crossed my arms over my chest. "What does that mean, Luke? What didn't you ask for? Was Jack involved in something that you couldn't get out of? Or were you in on it the whole time?" He remained silent, but I saw his fists clench at his sides. He wasn't going to admit it, not willingly, but I wasn't going to back down. "Tell me the truth, Luke," I said, my voice hardening. "You have to be involved in this somehow. I know you are." He took a deep breath, his shoulders sagging. The facade finally cracked, and for the first time I saw the pain in his eyes. "I didn't mean for it to get this far, Mom," he whispered, barely audible. "But I got involved with the wrong people. I needed money. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. I didn't want you to get hurt. I didn't want to drag you into this." The words hit me like a freight train. My own son involved in this mess. I had raised him. I had done everything I could to give him a good life, and now this was the truth. I felt the weight of it all, betrayal from every corner, from the man I loved, from the son I had tried to protect. "Luke, you don't get it," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. "This isn't just about money anymore. This is about our lives. You've put us in danger, and now they're after us. Do you understand that? These people are dangerous. They won't stop until they get what they want, and you're involved in all of this." He was quiet for a long time, his eyes fixed on the floor. Then, finally, he looked up at me, his face drawn with guilt. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't know what else to do. I thought I could fix it. I thought I could make it right. But now I'm just making things worse." I could feel the anger boiling up inside me, but it wasn't just anger at Luke. It was anger at Jack, at the mess he had left behind. It was anger at the life we had been living, a life built on secrets and lies. "Luke, I want to help you," I said, my voice softening. "But you have to be honest with me. You have to tell me everything. What happened to your father? What were his last days like? I need to know, and I need to know now." Luke looked away, his face pale, his expression distant. He wasn't ready to face the truth. He wasn't ready to come clean. But I wasn't giving up. Not now. Not when I was so close to the truth. "I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, Mom," he finally said, his voice breaking. "But I can't do it alone. I need your help, please." The weight of everything was pressing on me. I could feel the suffocating grip of Jack's secrets tightening around me, threatening to choke the life out of me. The more I dug, the deeper I fell into a dark pit of lies, deceit, and betrayal. I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape them. Luke's confession had shattered me. My son, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, had been hiding a part of himself, an ugly, dangerous part of himself that I never could have imagined. He had been involved in this mess, this network of deceit, right alongside Jack. But that wasn't the worst of it. No, the worst part was the people they had crossed, the people who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted, the people who were now after me. I needed help, but who could I trust? As I sat in the silence of my kitchen, staring at the phone, Jack's phone, the one thing he had left behind for me, I felt more alone than ever. Frank had warned me. "Stay away from Frank. You don't know what you're getting yourself into," the message had said. And yet it was Frank's name that kept ringing in my head, echoing in the hollow silence. He was involved. He had to know more than he was telling me. He had to. I knew Frank well enough to know he wasn't the type to turn his back on someone. But what if I was wrong? What if he was just another player in Jack's world of lies? The thought made my stomach twist, but I had no other choice. I had to take a risk. I had to know the truth, even if it meant putting my trust in someone who might not deserve it. I grabbed my coat and the keys to the car. I didn't even think twice. I had to find Frank. I had to talk to him face to face. No more games, no more half-truths. It was time to confront him. I drove through the streets of Cleveland, my mind spinning, my heart heavy with uncertainty. What would I say to him? What could I possibly ask? I had no answers. But I couldn't keep walking through this fog of fear and suspicion. Not when I was so close. Not when the truth was just beyond reach. Frank's office building came into view. It stood tall, cold, and impersonal, like everything else in my life now. The facade of normalcy had long since been stripped away, leaving nothing but shattered pieces of the life I thought I knew. As I stepped out of the car and walked into the building, I felt the familiar sense of unease creep up my spine. This wasn't just about business anymore. This was about survival. I stepped into the lobby, the receptionist barely glancing up from her desk. She gave me the same polite smile she always did, but there was something different about it today. Something uncertain. She knew, too. She could feel the tension hanging in the air just like I could. "Mr. Cartwright is expecting you," she said, her voice a little too soft, a little too strained. I nodded, not trusting my own voice. My hands were clammy as I walked down the hallway toward Frank's office, each step heavier than the last. My heart was beating so loudly in my chest that it drowned out everything else. When I reached the door, I didn't knock. I just opened it, walking in without hesitation. Frank was sitting at his desk, his usual calm demeanor gone. His eyes locked onto mine as I stepped inside, his expression unreadable. But there was something in his gaze that gave me pause. Something was different. He wasn't the man I'd known for all these years. No, this man was guarded, defensive, like he was preparing for something I couldn't see. "Sarah," Frank said, his voice tight, "I didn't think you'd come back. You should have stayed away." I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I need to know what you're hiding, Frank. I need you to tell me everything. I can't keep living in the dark. Not anymore." Frank leaned back in his chair, his jaw tightening. He was avoiding my gaze now, looking out the window instead of meeting my eyes. "I told you, Sarah. I tried to protect you. Jack had you fooled. He got caught up in something he couldn't escape. But you don't want to know the truth. You're better off not knowing." I stepped forward, my fists clenched at my sides. I need to know. You think I can just walk away from this? You think I can just forget what's been happening? Jack's dead, and I'm left holding the pieces of a life I don't even recognize. I deserve the truth, Frank, all of it. Frank's face softened for a moment, and I could see the regret in his eyes. But then it hardened again. You don't understand. Jack was trying to protect you from this, from them. The people he was involved with, they're dangerous, Sarah. You have no idea what they're capable of. I shook my head. I don't care anymore, Frank. I can't live in fear, not knowing who's pulling the strings. Tell me what Jack was involved in. Tell me about the money, the debts, the people he owed. Frank's silence spoke volumes. He was reluctant, hesitant to give me the answers I was so desperate for. But I couldn't stop now. I was too deep. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Jack wasn't just involved in bad deals, Sarah. He was caught in something far worse. This wasn't about money. It was about power. And Jack thought he could get out of it. He thought he could protect you. But there was no way out for him, not once he got tangled up with them. I stepped closer, my heart pounding in my chest. Who are they, Frank? Who are these people? What do they want from me? Frank's eyes shifted nervously to the door, then back to me. I can't tell you, Sarah. You're in too deep. You don't understand what you're up against. These people, they control everything. Jack thought he could play their game, but they always win. And now they're coming after you. I could feel my breath quicken as panic rose in my chest. What do you mean they're coming after me? I whispered, the words barely making it past my lips. Who are these people, Frank? Frank ran a hand through his hair, his gaze darting around the room. It's too late now, Sarah. They know you're looking. They know you've seen the phone. They know you've been asking questions. And they'll stop at nothing to make sure you don't get any further. They'll come for you just like they came for Jack. You're their target now. The realization hit me like a punch to the stomach. Frank was right. It was too late to walk away. I was already involved. Jack's death hadn't been an accident. His secrets, his debts, had brought us both to this point. The phone, the messages, everything had led me here. And now it was no longer about uncovering the truth. It was about survival. I felt the weight of the truth settling on me like a heavy cloak. I wasn't safe. None of us were. Frank, I said, my voice steady but filled with fear. What do I do now? How do I protect myself? And Luke. Frank hesitated for a long moment, then slowly stood up. You can't do this alone. I'll help you, Sarah. But you have to promise me one thing. Don't trust anyone, not even me. This is bigger than both of us, and we're running out of time. I couldn't breathe. The weight of everything I had uncovered pressed down on me like a vice. The lies, the secrets, the people behind Jack's death, everything was collapsing around me. The truth was out there, but it was slipping through my fingers just beyond my reach. And now it felt like I was running out of time. Time to get answers. Time to protect Luke. Time to fight back. Frank had warned me. Don't trust anyone. But how could I not trust him? He had been the one person I thought might understand, the one person who could help me make sense of it all. But now I wasn't so sure. He had given me pieces of the puzzle, but had he been holding back the most important ones? I stood in the living room, staring at the phone Jack had left behind, the key to everything. I had unlocked it, cracked the codes, and found messages that changed everything. But there was still so much I didn't know, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Luke, my own son, was hiding something from me. I had confronted him earlier, demanding answers, but his response had been evasive, as if he was trying to protect himself or protect someone else. The cold distance in his eyes told me there was more to the story than he was willing to admit, and I wasn't about to let him get away with it. I needed to confront him again. This time, there would be no holding back. The truth had to come out. I found Luke in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, staring at a cup of coffee he hadn't touched. His expression was unreadable, as it had been for days. He hadn't spoken much since our last conversation. He hadn't even looked at me properly. There was a distance in him that I couldn't bridge, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. I was his mother, and I had a right to know what was going on. Luke, I said, my voice steady but full of determination. We need to talk, now. He didn't look up at first, but I could see the shift in his shoulders. He was tense, waiting for the inevitable. He knew what was coming, and yet he refused to face it. He refused to face me. "I told you everything, Mom," he muttered, barely lifting his eyes to meet mine. "I didn't have a choice. I was trying to fix it, trying to make things right." "Fix it," I repeated, stepping closer to him. "How, Luke? How do you fix something like this? How do you fix the mess Jack left behind? How do you fix the fact that your father is dead and we're both caught in the middle of something we never asked for?" Luke sighed, running his hands through his hair, his frustration evident. "You don't understand. I never wanted any of this. It wasn't supposed to go this far." "But it did," I snapped. "And now you're tangled up in all of it. What happened to your father, Luke? What did he really get involved in? You were with him through all of this. You were there when he made the deals, when the threats started. Don't lie to me anymore." His face tightened, his eyes flickering with guilt. For a moment I saw it, his walls breaking down just for a split second. But then they went back up, higher than before. "I told you, Mom, it wasn't like that," he said quietly. "He was himself. I didn't know how deep he was into all of this. But I couldn't just walk away. I had to help him. I had to protect you." "Protect me?" I echoed, my voice rising with emotion. "You think you're protecting me by lying to me, by hiding the truth, by keeping me in the dark about what really happened to Jack? Don't you see? You're just digging yourself deeper. You're digging us both deeper." Luke's face hardened. "I didn't want to get you involved in this, Mom. I thought if I just took care of it, it would go away. But now it's too late. It's all too late." My mind raced. I had to know more. I couldn't let him walk away again. "Too late for what, Luke? What's going on? What did Jack do? Who's behind all this?" "I can't tell you." His voice was barely above a whisper, but the finality in it hit me like a slap. "I promised him. I promised I wouldn't say anything. He wanted you to stay out of it. He didn't want you involved in the mess he created. But now you've uncovered it all, and it's only a matter of time before they come for us." I stepped forward, my heart racing with desperation. "Who, Luke? Who's coming for us? Why won't you tell me the truth?" I can't." His eyes filled with guilt, and for the first time I saw the fear in them. Real fear. He was terrified, not of me, but of something much worse. I didn't know what to think anymore. My son, the person I had always trusted, was hiding something so big, so dangerous that he couldn't even bring himself to tell me. It felt like a betrayal, one that cut deeper than anything I had ever known. I had raised him, loved him, and now he was keeping secrets from me, secrets that could destroy everything. "I don't know what's worse," I whispered, my voice trembling. "The fact that Jack is gone, or the fact that you're hiding something so horrible from me. I need to know, Luke. I can't keep living in the dark like this." Luke's face twisted with anguish, his eyes pleading with me. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't tell you. I can't." I felt the weight of his words hit me like a ton of bricks. My son, my own flesh and blood, was involved in something so dark, so twisted, that he was willing to lie to my face. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. But then it hit me. If Luke wasn't going to tell me, then I would have to force it out of him. I wasn't going to lose him too. I wasn't going to let Jack's death be in vain. I had to get to the bottom of this, even if it meant confronting Luke one more time. "You're going to tell me everything," I said, my voice hardening. "If I have to drag it out of you, I will. We're going to fix this together. And if you don't tell me the truth, Luke, I'll find out another way." Luke didn't respond. He stood there, silent, the tension thick between us. But there was something in his eyes now, something that looked almost like regret. The room felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in on me with every passing second. The weight of the past few weeks had become unbearable, each revelation pushing me closer to the edge. The phone, the messages, the threats, it all led to this moment. I had fought for the truth, but now, standing here in front of the people who had betrayed me, I wasn't sure how far I was willing to go. But I knew one thing. I had come too far to stop now. I stared at Luke, his face pale, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and guilt. The boy I had raised, the child I thought I knew, was now tangled up in a web of lies, deceit, and danger. And it was my fault. I had trusted him. I had believed him when he said he was trying to fix things. But now I understood that his version of fixing things was just another lie, another piece of the puzzle I had been desperately trying to put together. I wasn't angry anymore. I was hurt, and I wasn't sure if there was anything that could fix this. "You've been lying to me, Luke," I said, my voice breaking. "This whole time, you've been hiding the truth from me. I don't even know who you are anymore." Luke opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He looked like he wanted to say something, but it was clear he was torn, struggling with his own guilt, his own fears. "I never wanted this to happen, Mom," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I thought I could protect you." "Protect me?" I interrupted, my voice rising despite myself. "You think you were protecting me by keeping all of this from me, by getting us involved in whatever mess Jack was tangled in. How is that protecting me?" Luke's shoulders slumped, and I saw the tears welling up in his eyes, but I couldn't allow myself to soften. I couldn't. Not now, not after everything. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't want to drag you into it, but you're in it now, and there's nothing I can do to change that." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "You need to tell me everything. Everything, Luke. Who's behind this? Who's been pulling the strings all along?" Luke hesitated, his hands trembling as he wiped his face. It's not just one person, Mom. It's a whole network. People Jack got involved with. They've been watching us from the start. They've been waiting for the right moment to make their move." "Waiting for what?" I demanded, my heart pounding in my chest. "What do they want from us, Luke? Why are they doing this?" "They want control," Luke said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Control of the money, control of the business Jack was involved with. They think they can use me, use you to get it." I felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling. "What business? What are you talking about?" Luke swallowed hard, his eyes darting to the floor. "Jack got involved with a company. It wasn't just any company, it was a front for something illegal. They thought Jack could help them, make things run smoothly, get money laundered, do all the dirty work they didn't want to touch. But Jack wanted out. He tried to get out, but they wouldn't let him. They never let anyone leave." I felt a sickening knot twist in my stomach. The more Luke said, the more it became clear that Jack had been involved in something far darker than I ever imagined. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about debts and inheritance. It was about a dangerous world that Jack had stepped into, a world that was now closing in on us. Luke's voice cracked as he continued. "And then, when Dad died, they thought it was a way to get rid of him, take him out of the picture. But they underestimated you, Mom. They didn't think you'd start digging." I swallowed hard. "Why didn't you tell me any of this, Luke? Why didn't you come to me sooner? We could have handled it together." He looked at me, his eyes filled with regret. "I didn't want to drag you into this. You didn't deserve to know. I thought I could fix it. I thought I could fix everything. But now it's too late. They're here, Mom. They're already here." Before I could respond, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching. My heart leapt into my throat as the door to the living room opened with a creak. I spun around, my pulse racing. Frank stepped inside, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a man I didn't recognize, a tall, muscular figure with dark sunglasses, dressed in black. His presence was cold, unsettling, and I could feel the tension in the room spike. Frank's face was grim, his jaw clenched as he looked from Luke to me, his eyes full of regret. "Sarah," Frank said quietly, his voice steady but tinged with fear. "You need to listen to me. This isn't over." I felt my blood run cold. "What's going on, Frank?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Who is he?" Frank stepped aside, revealing the man in black. "This is Damon. He's not someone you want to get to know, but he's here because we need to make things right." I looked between Frank and Damon, my mind racing. What did they mean? Make things right? My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. It felt like I was caught in a storm, and every minute I stayed in this room was another moment closer to being swallowed whole by whatever this was. "We're out of time, Sarah," Frank said, his voice low. "The people Jack was involved with, they're closing in, and they'll do whatever it takes to get what they want. If you don't act now, if we don't take control of the situation, it will be too late. You'll lose everything." Damon, who had been silent up until now, stepped forward, his dark eyes scanning the room. "They're coming for you, Sarah, and they're not going to stop until they get what's theirs. If you want to survive this, you need to make a choice. Now." I stared at him, confused and terrified. "What choice? What do you mean?" Frank stepped in. "You have one shot at this, Sarah. One chance to take control of everything. You've seen the phone, you've seen the messages, but you need to act fast. They're already too close." I felt the panic rise in my chest as the realization hit me. Frank was right. This was my only chance. I had to take control before they took everything from me. I turned to Luke, who stood there, his face pale and defeated. "Luke," I whispered, "this is it. We can't let them win, not after everything we've been through." Luke nodded, his eyes filled with fear and guilt. "I know, Mom, I know. I'll do whatever it takes." I turned to Frank and Damon, my voice steady but filled with determination. "What do I need to do?" Frank's eyes met mine, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I saw a glimmer of hope. "It's time to fight back, Sarah. It's time to take control of your own life." "What do you think I should do next? Should I trust Frank and Damon, or is this all part of the trap? Do you think I will get the revenge I deserve, or will everything fall apart? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter in my journey.